So, hello, namaste. I'm having a chat today with Emily Cordes, and I hope she's joining in a few seconds, minutes. And we talk about a yogi's perspective on the last 12 months. So, there she already is. Let's get her in.
Hey, there we
Hello.
go. Hi.
There we go. Can you
All
hear me
good.
well?
Yes, and you?
Yes, everything is fine. And you have nice
Perfect.
sunlight around you.
Yes, I know. I had to be out in the sun. It is a little cool, but gotta enjoy
Cool.
it. Yeah.
Great. Nice to see your face.
Yes, good to see you too. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for hosting this.
Yes. I just, you're actually the first person I speak to.
I thought
Um,
so.
yes, because I just got up with the idea. I reached out with the idea. Yeah, this week, last week, this week is Sunday.
Yeah, it's just a
And
few days ago, right? Yeah.
yeah, I already got like 5 or 6 more people for Monday, Tuesday,
Good.
Wednesday. So I'm really
Oh,
excited.
wow, you've got a whole series. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm starting the series and we are making the beginning.
Yay, that's exciting. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yes. So just as a little introduction for whoever is watching, yeah, this should become a little series about a yogi's perspective on the past year or the past 12
Mhm.
months. And we're hearing so much about death numbers and models and politicians talking and TV, and it's all a big fuss about, yeah,
Yes.
something that has never happened before. And somehow I find the real people's faces and their stories, what they're going through and how they deal with the stuff, is a little bit under the carpet. So it's not so obvious. And I thought just to have a chat about what actually happens in your life and how do you deal with it. And especially like because we're yoga people and in this whole area, how we deal with that and how maybe yoga helps us, or
Hmm.
maybe we're struggling in keeping our yoga practices or whatever is happening in those times. And yeah, and what I find really exciting is that I have you now as a first person from the opposite point on the planet.
Yeah.
So I have another couple interviews already scheduled, which are also from Europe, from India, from, it's like really
Amazing.
a worldwide thing, and I'm super happy to, yeah, to speak to you.
Yes,
So
thank you.
that said, as an introduction, and I know you, Emily, from a advanced teacher training, but maybe not everybody knows you.
Hmm.
So probably, wait, before we do that, if you don't like to answer to a question because it's too intimate or something, or you just can't be bothered, please
Yeah.
tell me something like skip. And I will
Yep,
not
got it.
take it personal. I will just go to the next topic. And
No worries.
so
That
I don't
sounds
want
good.
to intimidate you. Okay.
Yes, no worries. Thank you.
Yes. So do you consider yourself as a yogi?
Yes, absolutely. It's such a big part of my life.
Cool. So maybe you can tell me briefly where you're from, where you're located, and a
Hmm.
little bit how your normal life looks like, more in terms of you living in a city, or do you have
Hmm.
a cabin in the woods and meditating
Right.
all day long, or how is your normal lifestyle? Just
Okay, yeah,
in
sure.
a few
So
words.
I'm in a city called London, which is actually in Canada. We're about 200 kilometers from Toronto.
Hmm.
Not a very big city around here, about 400,000, but
Yeah.
definitely in a city. You know, I've got houses right beside me and everything. Um, yeah, normal life is kind of the the city life, I guess, for the most part. I am here
Yeah.
most of
Yeah.
the year. I do love to travel, though, of course, and I spend most of the summer months in a town called Sauble Beach, which
Okay.
is about 3 hours from here. So, a cottage on the lake. Like, I just love living the beach
Nice.
life, and that's where, kind of just getting into the more nature connected space, more
Yeah.
connected to my yoga practice and all that. So, I really do love being close to nature like that. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of in between those two places for most of the year and
That sounds
teaching
lovely. Yeah.
yoga wherever I go. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I also moved a year ago now. It's probably 12 months just right before the pandemic, I moved to Corfu,
Right.
and I have the beach for the first time in my life, just a minute like across the road. And
Amazing.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it. It's so nice to just go there and have a walk, and it's
Yeah.
a
And it
different
looks like such a
quality.
beautiful beach there too, like just so
Ah, yeah, it is.
peaceful and yeah. Oh yeah, that looks amazing.
Okay, how is your mood? How do you feel those days, like the past days, or in general? How is your mood in the moment?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now. Very, I mean, I know, there's so much going on and
Hmm.
it's it definitely can take a toll, but I've kind of in a way disconnected myself just from, like you said, the media and all that stuff. Like I'm not checking
Did
as much
you?
as I first was. Yeah, I
Ah,
don't
yeah.
I don't actually have a TV, so I don't have like
Great.
news
Yeah.
on or
I think it's
I
a
do.
good point to stay healthy
Yeah,
those
it's really
times.
good for me. So not to say that I'm just like ignoring it all, but kind of
Yeah.
focusing on what I can do in my own life to feel good and
Yeah.
how I can focus on my own growth. So everyone has their ups and downs, but the
Yeah.
past little while feeling really good.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice to see and to hear someone who is actually feeling good.
Yeah, I mean in
Because
general, right?
yeah, in general, we come later
Yeah.
to a bit more specific, the feelings and emotions where we went through this last past 12 months,
Yeah,
because I guess there were some ups and downs, but let's go to that
definitely.
a bit later.
Absolutely.
Before we dive a bit deeper, how strongly is yoga integrated in your life, or how big is yoga as a part of your life? Is it a big? Is it just something you do as a hobby at the side, or how much?
It's definitely a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
I think I kind of started it thinking like, oh, it would always be like a side thing and do yoga
Mm.
here and there, teach classes here and there. But the
Yeah.
more, I mean, even just the past year, it's really grown since our training
Yeah.
together a year ago.
Yeah.
Like even, I loved it then, of course, too. But even since then, it's just grown more and more. And it's kind of
Yeah.
feels like the main part of my life. Kind of
Nice.
everything comes through
Ah, so
that.
nice to hear.
I try and bring my perspective that I share in my classes and, kind of
Yeah.
the yoga mindset into my own life now too, a lot more,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah. So
really important right
living
now.
it. Yeah.
Living it, not just doing fun
Ah.
poses and this and that, but real,
Hands-on.
yeah, living it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So you're a full-time yoga teacher, is that right? Or do
So
you have
I'm
a
not, yeah, I'm
ah
also a school teacher. Um,
okay.
so I do that part time,
Yeah.
which is great for me because that gives me a
Yeah.
chance to grow my yoga business, but also have,
Yes.
something to rely on, a steady job that's always
So
there.
you're like in a whole time in contact of many children actually, and the mothers and fathers, and so you actually have a lot of exchange of people, I guess. Is that
Yeah, the
right?
past few months, yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
teaching when the pandemic first started. Schools were
Ah,
closed
okay.
in
Yeah.
Canada, so I wasn't teaching for a while. But yeah, since January, teaching every day and
Could you
often
sum
in
up
contact.
just for me to understand, because I haven't followed like each country, which what happened.
Of course,
Could
yeah.
you sum up, not too long, like
Yeah.
how was the past 12 months? Did you have what kind of restrictions you had, and how your government like made the
Yeah,
rules?
okay.
That
So
would be nice
at
to
first,
know.
so March, it's funny because I actually arrived home from India a year ago today.
Yeah,
So
me
it's
too.
interesting that we're doing
Ah,
this
yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
today. It's been exactly a year. So when I got home,
Yeah.
everything was already shut down. Schools were closed.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Pretty much everything was closed except for
Yeah.
essential services, so grocery stores, pharmacies, that sort of thing.
Mm.
That lasted several months, 3 or 4 months. In the summer, things
Mm.
kind of started to open up. Restaurants could have
Mm.
outdoor seating and some indoor
Mm.
seating. So a little
Yeah.
bit, starting to get back to it. And
Mm.
then in the fall, we kind of went back. When did we started to go into different zones? Our government used like green, yellow, red, different
Yeah.
zones. So
Yeah.
depending on where you live, we went back into a full lockdown in December,
Okay.
which was
December.
until
Yes.
February. Yeah, so things are kind of starting to
Ah,
open up again.
open. Okay.
But now they're going more specific to region instead of like our whole province.
Yeah.
It's more just city by city.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you actually? I I can quite remember well when I first heard of Corona and the whole thing and where I was,
Hmm.
how I felt. But I'm curious if you also remember, when do you heard the first time? What do you thought? What were you feeling about it? And did you
Yeah.
take it like serious, or would you think like, oh, it's a thing and what is it? A
Yeah, I
pandemic?
definitely
How
didn't
was
take
it?
it seriously at first. I
Okay.
do remember too. So in India, when we were,
Yeah.
I think, just wrapping up our training, and I remember
Mm.
Pilly couldn't get her flight home, and
True. Yeah. To
she
China.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, because she was going back to
Mm.
China, and I remember
Mm.
thinking, oh, weird, like what's going on with all this? Weird.
Mm.
And then,
Mm.
and I decided to stay on at Sampurna into February, March, and then I was hearing some people
Yeah.
weren't coming because they were scared to travel. And I just remember
Mm.
thinking, what? Like, come on. It's funny looking back now. I'm like, oh, I was being a little naive. But at the time, at the time,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like anything. I thought, oh, and really, to even come home from India, my family really had to push me because I kept
Oh,
thinking, like,
yeah.
because Canada, the numbers were high much before India was doing testing and that sort of thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
living there, living the beach life in Goa, you're very,
Is completely
it's like a hippie.
different
It's
sphere.
completely different. Exactly. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll just stay here because I intended to stay much longer. So it was,
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I'll just stay, I'll wait it out, and then I'll go home after. So, yeah, definitely did not take it seriously for a while
Okay. Yeah.
until
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
came home,
And
really.
then you arrived somehow, and
Yeah, luckily
reality
I
or
made it home. I realized, oh,
whatever
okay, this
hit.
is yeah, reality hit, exactly.
So I'm curious now, how were the last past 12 months for you? How did your life changed? Did it changed? And how and what?
Right.
How,
I think, my life hasn't changed as much as some other people's
mm,
have, maybe, because
mm,
I'm always kind of changing things anyways. Like,
mm,
um, I could be a full-time school teacher right now, but I just choose not to be, that the work is there, but I prefer to have a little more flexibility. So
mm,
I kind of intended to start teaching yoga online anyways. And then when I came home from India
mm.
and everything was online, I thought, well, this is a great time to start. Ordered
Yeah.
myself a tripod and away we went,
It was
kind of
it was
figuring
very
it out as I
similar.
go.
It
Yeah,
was so similar with us. We just finished our website in February and started like
right.
online thinking, and like we were just ready in February or March. But
Yeah. It's funny
yeah,
how the timing kind of was like, oh, okay, great.
yeah,
This was my next step anyway, so
yeah, yeah.
I'm fortunate that I was able to do that and still
Mm,
be school teaching, here and there, not full time, but here and there enough. So, my life has changed, but I like to be at home. I like to have quiet time. I don't really, most of the things that have closed hasn't really affected me personally because I'm not
okay.
missing like going out to movies or things like that. It's like, okay,
Ah, okay.
I don't even know everything that's open and closed all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
of course, I feel for the people whose businesses have closed and all the change people have gone through. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
but my personal life has not changed a ton. I think I would be
Ah,
traveling if possible at this
yeah.
time, but other
Mm,
than that,
mm.
kind of just going with it.
Okay, yeah. Not too bad then for you personally. That's
Yeah, no, not
nice to
not
hear.
really. Very fortunate.
And how's it with meeting other people? Are you allowed to meet other people? And do you miss like the personal contact also in your classes, or is it
Yeah.
for you easy and you can say like I have my three people around me and I'm happy with them, or how is it for you?
Right. Yeah, I definitely miss that aspect of life in general, yoga and just being around
Yeah,
friends and
yeah,
feeling, not having to question, just getting together. It's always kind of like, oh, should we do that? Should we not? Like all that. I do miss
yeah,
that connection. And in
yeah.
the classes too, with yoga, I love teaching online, and I have, I think a lot of my students have grown to love it as well, even
Mm.
not being sure at first. But I definitely miss being in a room full of people, and you're like mat to mat, and you can kind of feel
Yeah,
everybody's energy together. And I miss
yeah,
giving adjustments, like being able to have
yeah.
hands-on adjustments. We can't do that at
Uh,
all, right? So I do
yeah,
miss that type of the connection
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. for me often is when something big happens in the world, I sometimes have the feeling that I go through a similar process, or I don't know, maybe it's just that I think that, but I also went through a lot of like little processes and bigger ones and the transformations and stuff like that. How was it for you? Did you also have your personal process in this, let's say, the last year, or was it more you flew, you were flowing in like your normal life? I don't know how you
No,
would do it normally.
definitely the last year has definitely been different, very different from like a normal year, even though I am kind of like here, there, and everywhere anyways.
Yeah, yeah,
It's yeah, I've definitely felt that shift as well, and
yeah,
kind of feeling what's going on in the world, even if, you know, like I said, I'm not tuning into the news every day and I'm not doing all those
yeah,
things,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
can still kind of feel that sense of stress in the air and the anxiety in the air. So
ah,
it's been a big journey for me to learn how to protect my own energy, and I've gone
ah,
through like huge growth in the last year, really. And
yeah.
because I was
What?
very resistant at first,
Uh-huh.
to
Okay.
having to come home. I really pushed it, and I thought, well, this wasn't my plan, and I wanted to stay until May, and I had this, all in my head how
Yes,
things were
yes,
going to
yes, yes,
go.
yes,
So
yes.
to be able to let go of the expectation that I had set and kind of
Yeah,
accept how things were was a big learning,
yeah,
big learning for me. So now applying that into my everyday life, and not just with the huge changes, but little things like if something doesn't go your way on a certain day, it's like, okay,
yeah.
well, that's just how it went today, and learning how to accept. So I've taken
How do
these
you
big
how do
lessons
you
and
specifically accept? What is your yeah, what is your way to accept things that don't run like you want? Do you have
right.
a ritual, or do you use a technique, or is it a something you learned in yoga? Like, how do you actually let it go?
hmm so I've in the past like 6-ish months, I've really gotten into more learning about my connection to the universe and how things are kind of
Mm,
like everything's energy, and
mm,
learning about, all that, like that sort of
mm,
thing. So just how things are
mm,
kind of why they happen a certain way. So I'm trying to not
mm,
resist, because I've learned that when
mm,
I resist something, then it's not,
mm.
you're pushing against a wall, right? It's not
Yeah.
like you should, if you can accept, then things will go. You might not see why it's supposed to be a certain way. So that's a big thing for me is, okay, I don't know why right now, but I
Yes.
will, right? So
I
kind of,
totally agree.
yeah, a lot of what Sudhir
Mm.
has taught us too. So for anyone who doesn't know, our meditation and philosophy and everything life teacher, um,
Mm.
just repeating to myself, I accept things the way they are. I accept myself as I am. Coming back to mantras
Yeah,
and yeah, affirmations
yeah,
has helped a lot.
yeah. Um, in this age where we have an overflow of information, where we have access to so much information, but there's also so much media, there are like news, fake news, alternative facts, you really I easily get lost.
Hmm.
Finding the truth, what is true, what is maybe fake, what is a deep fake, what is a conspiracy theory, what is maybe real, what is a real conspiracy, or whatever. Like, how do you
Hmm.
find your truth? How do you make for yourself, like, I believe on that, or I don't believe on that, or I'm skeptical, or how do you find your truth in
Yeah,
this
that's a good
mess?
question, and it's
Uh,
yeah, and like you said, there's so much, right? So it's not even just one thing to consider. Oh, do I believe that? It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
everything every day.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know that I have a way really, to be honest, but
yeah, yeah,
always learning, I guess, like listening to what other people think, listening to sources that I trust, but then coming back
yeah.
to, okay, does that sit right with me? Does that feel right? Does that,
Mm,
am I, do I accept that? I don't
yeah.
know that I have a way, but just, yeah.
So just in that what you said, like I have a idea, or I imagine that you probably also ask or consider your gut feeling into a decision
Right.
if you trust someone or something. In my
Yes, definitely.
opinion, that's something we really should connect to. So not just thinking with the racial mind or with the like science saying this or that, like how do you receive the information? How is it going through your gut feeling or to your intuition or however you want to call it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, very important. And as
I
I hear
agree.
it, you speaking, I guess you
Yeah,
also try
I
to
guess I am saying that.
implement, integrate. Yeah,
Yes,
yes. Yeah,
definitely.
okay.
Yeah, I think that is really important to trust
Mm,
your gut feeling is, you know,
mm,
it's there for a reason. And I think
mm.
we know so much more than we know that we know. So
Absolutely, yeah.
if we are able to tune into that, we can learn a lot, I
Yeah,
think. So yeah.
yeah. Um, I would be also curious if you had, or if you would share a highlight and a low light from the past 12 months, and maybe
Okay.
how you tackled that, especially low light, or how you enjoyed the
Right.
highlight.
Oh, that's tricky. It's been a long but short 12 months. Somehow I'm still thinking like, oh, you know, I get confused about what month it is sometimes because I'm like, oh, but I
Yeah.
didn't do my normal schedule this year. So, um, oh, a highlight. Not that there's not a highlight. There's just, you know, lots of things that could be
Too many.
highlights. Yeah, unfortunate. Um, you know, I think maybe not one specific moment, but feeling really supported by my
Hmm,
friends and community and family in
hmm.
kind of starting to grow my yoga business. And it was
Really?
always, like I said, kind of a side thing before. But when I came home, I was like, this is it. You know, I want to take my business online. I want to run classes. I want to make a website. I want to do everything.
Hmm,
And I've been really supported in that. And my students have
hmm,
been really flexible to learn with me. And I'm not the techiest person. So things go wrong. And they're really
hmm,
flexible and understanding, which has meant a lot to me. So I think
hmm,
kind of just a general highlight has been having that support and feeling um, just that has helped me see like, yes, this is the right next step for me, trusting again the gut instinct and
yeah,
just how things are feeling. So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's been kind of a general highlight over the last 12 months.
yeah.
um, a low light would be um, you know, I really resisted it at first. So I really resisted all of this, and
Oh,
it was hard when
how,
I was sorry.
how did it show up, the resistance?
Yeah. It was more at first. So when I was still in India and
Hmm.
my family would be messaging me every day, like, oh, the NBA shut down. And I'm like, meh. Oh, Disney World closed. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, but so
Whatever.
they're like telling me all these things that's obviously a concern for them. And
Yeah,
now looking back, like I feel really bad about that because they were worried about me, right? It's not that they wanted me
yeah,
to leave India when I didn't want to. They want what's best for me, and I'm really grateful for that.
yeah,
Um, but I really resisted it because I kept thinking, no, like my plan is to be here. I'm going to travel when the course ends. I'm doing, you know,
yeah.
I was just offered a job to teach at Sampurna. So
I
I
know,
really
yeah.
wanted that. But then, you know, so I kind of let what I want, um,
Hmm,
like my desire, I guess, take over what was actually right. So
hmm,
yeah, looking back on how I handled that, I'm not very proud of it.
hmm.
um,
Did you
but
got
then it
angry or upset or what was it?
yeah, so like my just like resisting the help. Like my sister would be texting me every day, wants to help me book a flight, and I'm like, no. And so that caused tension. And my sister and I are really
Yeah,
close.
yeah,
So I'm like, why
yeah,
is she
yeah,
being like this? Why doesn't she want me to be here? So
yeah,
it's you know, and then coming home, it wasn't really like it was a big celebratory. Yes, I made it home safe, but it wasn't, of course, normal circumstances where we could all
yeah,
be happy. It was like, oh, finally we got her home. You know, like they were kind of frustrated,
yeah, released. Hmm,
understandably.
hmm,
So yeah, it was a lot of resistance, and I was so now looking back, taking that lesson into my regular life and my daily life, I'm like, okay, I resisted something so much, and why? Like I didn't, nothing good came of that resistance. So that's why
hmm.
now when things don't go the way I think they should go, I try and accept it anyways and think, okay, I just don't
I
know the reason
mean,
yet.
saying that is like you learned a lot from it. It's like
Definitely. Yeah, I learned a
dealing with
lot
the
from that.
resistance and let it go. I mean, that's
Yes.
a major task in your life. You can learn a major thing.
Yeah. And I
It's
thought a lot about
fantastic.
like having expectations, and it's not necessarily bad to have expectations, but I really learned like, but my expectation is like forcing me here and I can't let
Mm,
it go, like then it's a
mm,
problem, right? So I
mm.
was learning like, okay, I shouldn't have to like push everyone away and give my like make my opinion the only one that matters to
Yeah,
get what I want. That doesn't, you know, then that's not ultimately the right thing.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
big learning.
Was there a point where you got afraid, or where you had fear, or yeah, something like you were really worried that the whole thing is going out of control and maybe future is really not a good place to be?
Right.
Oh,
Kind of, you know, sorry, I'm just gonna try and get the sun off my face. Oh, there we go.
yeah.
I did plan to be traveling again from like March or January to March of this year.
Mm,
So when everything started, I thought, oh, by then, you know, everything will be fine. I'll definitely be able to go back to India and kind of pick up where I left off.
yeah.
But when that wasn't able to come, I had a lot of questions, you know, like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do if that's not it?
Mm,
What
yeah.
is my next step, right? Because I thought I had it all planned out.
Yes.
And then everything changed. So
Mm,
it was a lot of questions like that, maybe a little, you know, fear-based, but
yeah.
trying to not be stuck in it. But yeah, fear-based for sure. Like, okay, I thought I had this all figured out and now I don't. So what is
But
it?
it,
You
it
know, what's
was it
next?
was more because you had made plans and it didn't work out, and you were a bit worried about the unknown future, but it was less
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the pandemic itself or the virus or the restrictions or
Yeah.
whatever could. So, is
Yeah,
that right?
more about kind of the secondary effect, I guess, of not being
Yes,
able to
the
travel.
personal
But
effect for
yeah,
you. Yeah,
personal effect.
yeah,
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 I have been. I mean, in the summer, I was working at a restaurant. So, and that's when things were kind of just starting to open up. So then I
yeah. Mm,
thought, oh, you know, I thought I would
yeah,
get sick for sure and being in that close contact, touching people's plates and everything. But
yeah.
everything was okay. But at the start of that, I was kind of weary and thinking,
Okay.
because we
Yeah,
were in a full lockdown and then it was very sudden that everything opened. So I thought, well, how can
yeah.
we suddenly be ready?
Okay.
So yeah.
Let's speak a bit about lockdown and your practice. So I think yoga, from my personal experience, is a great way to give yourself an anchor and
Hmm.
also to establish a routine in your life, which just creates security. But I'm curious to know, how was the practice for you, and how do you did you maybe learn something new? Did you do something online, or did you manage to do your practice? Did your practice change? Like, how was your practice?
Yeah. Um,
And what do you practice?
right. Yeah. So my yoga practice definitely, like you said, an anchor. That's a great way to describe it. You know, it's something you can always come back to and gives
Mm,
you that, for me, gives me that sense of grounding, stability, and understanding in my life, I guess. So
mm.
it, you know, throughout it had its ups and downs. I didn't keep a regular practice through the past 12 months.
Yeah,
Um, as much as I would have liked to, and as much as I would think, oh, lockdown, I've got all the time in the world, you know,
yeah.
right?
But it's
So
not more easy to do a strict
I
practice, huh?
know exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
you can
same,
do it or
same.
you don't. So
Yeah,
yeah, it had its ups and downs, but mostly I kept a steady practice, and it has been kind of like that safety, I guess, that safety net and that place where I
yeah.
can retreat to.
Okay.
Um, I also created in my house, I created a yoga room, like a space, yoga
Nice.
space. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really become like a sanctuary for me now. I'll walk by
Mm,
and I just feel like drawn into it.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
you know, so even with all the not being able to go to a studio and practice as I normally would, it's been a
Mm,
new sense of my
mm,
new sense of practice, I guess.
mm, mm. What do you
Yeah.
practice exactly?
Like in yoga, you mean? Or
What kind of yoga? Yeah, is it like
yeah.
how does your practice look like? Do you do like a vinyasa flow with an online person, or do you
Oh,
do it
right.
for yourself, or do you do yin yoga or meditation, or what do you do?
Okay, I see. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, mostly vinyasa.
Mm,
I practice often I do like just my own flow when I'm feeling
mm,
just want to guide myself through something. But I do love to practice with other teachers as well. So I've been doing a lot of recorded practices on Allo Moves. I signed up for a membership with them and been really enjoying
Yeah.
that.
Cool.
So it's nice to kind of learn from a lot of different teachers. And something too, though, is to practice the live classes with friends from all around the world has been nice.
Yeah.
Something wouldn't have been able to do before. So I've attended a few friends' classes like in England and different places. So that has been really nice. Yeah. My meditation practice is not as strong, but I am trying to bring it in more and kind of start the day with that. Especially the past couple months, I've been really focusing on that.
Oh, cool.
So even just like, I'm just trying to establish a steady practice with it, because I really go through phases with meditation and pranayama. I build it often into a yoga practice, but I am trying to also sometimes just do that and come to my mat just for meditation. So working on it.
Cool. I would like to speak a bit about the spiritual perspective or the bigger picture. Do you have an opinion why this is all happening in society? Or often I hear from people like there's a big awakening happening, or like people say, I don't know. Yeah, people say like there's a transformation in the world, and there are also like old Indian or the Maya calendar is changing into a new age of Aquarius and so on and so on. So from a yogi spiritual perspective, do you think the whole crisis is helping us or doing something for humanity or for us or for each individual?
Right. Yeah, I think in general, there's been, everyone's lives have changed, which is, for me, for a long time, that was just hard to wrap my head around. It's like, this is happening to everyone in the world, their life has changed in some way, right? So that's kind of hard to understand and to fathom. But I do think that there's, we are learning to live life at a different pace in general. I don't want to discount all the people who have, lost family, friends, lost their jobs, not to discount any of that, in general. I think our lives have changed in a way that maybe we're more connected to ourselves. We've had to stay home, and I think a lot of people aren't able to spend time with themselves, right? So we fill our lives with so much, like, work 12 hours a day, do this, do that, like so much do. And then now it's like, suddenly, stay home, don't do anything. Right? So that's a huge challenge. And
I think so too,
bound to lead to transformation on some level, even if it's resisted a lot at first. I think maybe a lot of people, I think, will come to that, or maybe have come to that journey on their own path. So
I think actually the first or the biggest thing, or the most people started online yoga in this pandemic. I think that was the number one in starting a new thing, was yoga online.
I bet. I believe it. And people are looking for something to calm their mind and to understand, and that I think that's been a big realization for me too, is what I'm teaching to my students is so much more than the poses. It's so much more than doing this with your body. It's like, what the feedback I've been getting even more than usual is like the messages that come through, and the things that people can apply to their life off the mat, right? So I think a lot of people are looking for those tools.
What do you think, where are we going to? How does the world, into what does the world transform, or how does it look in 10 years? Do you stay positive?
That's a tough question. Yes, I think I do. Yes, absolutely. I think I think all this big change is for a reason, and I think certain things won't go back to how they were. Like, maybe a lot of people will realize, okay, it has been all the simple things in life that we've missed and that we are grateful to have back, like time with family and like you said,
Yeah.
even just being together with people, right? I think
Yeah.
a lot of people have learned how important those things are, and how maybe we took things like that for granted, and
Nah, yeah.
hugging, you know, things like that. Just
Mm,
those little things that's like
mm,
we've missed the connection. So I think in general in the future, I think we're moving to a good place. Yeah. That people
mm,
maybe are more appreciative and more connected to the world around them.
mm, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think it takes time, right? And it's in general, right? I mean, we can't speak for everybody, but I think a lot of
Yeah,
people have kind of learned a lot about themselves through this.
yeah, I
It's
guess
not
so,
always
yeah.
easy at first, but but it comes to, you know, growth isn't comfortable.
I think that's the thing, from big crisis, you can always, at least it was in my life like that, big crisis always led me to something I grew so much more. I started
Hmm.
yoga because of the big crisis, a personal crisis. And
Right,
I
yeah.
learned so much. And I think somehow the step of this big crisis can bring humanity in the entire thing as to a different place where we maybe do things better. But it's a
Yeah,
way, yeah.
exactly. Yes, yeah. We don't see that right away, right? When you're in the crisis, everything's dark and you don't have
Yeah,
the answers. You don't know what's next. So yeah, it's tough. But once you get that stepping stone of whatever it is that will get you through and out, then
yeah.
that's it. That's what we need.
Okay, to end our lovely talk, because gratitude is such a powerful energy, let's find a few things we can be grateful for in this whole situation, this crisis. And oh, maybe what are you grateful for? What
Hmm.
are you grateful for the crisis for in your life at the moment?
I'm very grateful for family. I think my family's gotten a lot closer. We were already
Mm,
very close, but you know, very grateful that I'm able to be home safe with my family. Whereas I
yeah,
often had an eye out, oh, where can I go next? Where can I travel next? But now it's, you
yeah,
know, I'm just grateful to be at home and grateful to be with them.
yeah.
Um, it's definitely a big thing for me. Grateful for
That
yoga.
sounds,
Grateful for
yeah,
my
me
practice
too.
as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So many things I could go on forever. Grateful for
Please
this
do.
sunshine in March, like you said, in Canada in March, you're like, what? You're gonna sit outside?
Yes.
Yeah. We
Wow,
have to, you
you
know,
have
here.
such a positive vibe and view on everything. I
Thank you.
love it. So it's great. Yeah.
Thank you. It's not,
Mm.
you know, it's a lot of learning, but just kind of redirecting. And I'm not, you know, not to say I'm always positive, right? I'm learning myself, everything along the way. As much as I'm teaching,
Yeah.
I'm learning. So yeah, but
Yeah.
I feel good when I'm positive. So that's the
Mm.
biggest learning for me is how do I want to feel? I want to feel good. How do I do that? Be
Mm.
positive.
Okay.
Simple.
It sounds easy, but isn't. It
So,
isn't.
right. No, it's not. It's not. There's so much to it. but we
Joy is
can
your
get to that
birthright.
place where it's easy. Yes, that's right. Yes,
Mm.
exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time and connecting with me and sharing your past 12 months in some ways. And I hope we can inspire some people and also have a talk maybe soon again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and for
Yeah.
starting this series off together. It was really great to chat with you about
Yes.
all of this and to see you again.
Okay.
Yes,
Then
thank you.
have a good day and I say namaste.
You too. Namaste. Namaste.
Bye bye bye.